Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today, let me start off with trigger warning. This is going to be a Scientology video. So if you find any of my content on Scientology triggering in any way because it contains my opinions and criticisms on this quote-unquote religion, then I suggest you go ahead and click off this video. Also, if you don't like the way I deliver my material on Scientology, go ahead and click off this video. Anyway guys, let's get into the video. So, I've been doing a little undercover work on Scientology, and that undercover work has included me taking their personality test and speaking with Scientology members over the phone. I'm not going to say what orgs I've talked to because I'm still kind of in contact with them, and also starting coursework. Not paid coursework because I'm not an idiot, but they have the online courses that are free that you can take, and so I was like, let's see what kind of garbage we can dig up. So the first class that was suggested to me due to my line of work is the solutions for dangerous environment. Okay, now I explained to them the line of work I'm in, and as many of you guys know, I'm a 911 operator. So solutions for dangerous environment. Okay. Seems like a fitting class, right? Immediately into getting into this class, I got pissed off. And I'll tell you why. So, I have all of the course material right here in front of me. So it goes through like your basics, talking about like what environment is, and just kind of basic blah blah blah, giving you kind of an introduction. So it's the first part of it is how dangerous is the environment. So let's go here. It says the fact of the matter is, however, that the environment is made to appear much more dangerous than it actually is. Now, I can agree with this in some aspects, and then I can disagree with it in others. I do believe that some facts, our environment is made to be more dangerous than it actually is. But then also, working on the other side of it, we do live in a dangerous environment. Like, okay, yes, politicians will hype up like how violent things are, or how bad things are, or how horrible things are. Yes, they do that as a way to make people afraid and make them vote for them because they have the solution to the problem. But also, on the flip side of that, working in the law enforcement field, I see exactly how dangerous things are. Like, I do live in a city where there is crime and there is violence, and yeah, I see it. So a great many people are professional makers of dangerous environment. This includes professions which require a dangerous environment for their existence, such as the politician, the policeman, the newspaperman, and the undertaker, and others. They sell a dangerous environment. If they didn't sell a dangerous environment, they feel they would go broke. Okay, one, a police officer doesn't sell a dangerous environment. Police officers, they're not out here going, yes, crime is horrible, blah, 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 blah. 99% of the time, and I can say this because I work with officers closely, day in, day out, they're not out here telling people exactly how bad things are. They downplay it to the public so that the public feels safer. I mean, duh. You're not going to see an officer going, well, you know, you're in a really bad neighborhood, you shouldn't be here. Or, you know, this city is horrible, you shouldn't be here. No officer in their right mind is going to say that kind of shit to a citizen. Nowhere. So, that started pissing me off. So it is in their interest to make the environment far more dangerous than it is. No, it is not in a police officer's interest to make the environment more dangerous than it is. It is actually in the opposite. To make an environment more dangerous for a police officer is actually the least possible thing for their best interest. That could lead to their death. I mean, is that not like common sense? Yes, of course. With crime, you need more officers. But officers are not out here trying to sell a dangerous environment so that they can hire more officers. No. We're hiring more officers because it is proven that there's more crime and we don't have enough officers. It's not rocket science. The environment is dangerous enough, but they make it far more dangerous. Again, what? Now, here's an obvious example. It says, an obvious example can be seen in newspapers. There are no good news stories. They report bad news and disasters and mostly ignore good news and making the environment seem full of threats. I can actually fully agree with that. Like my local news, you watch the news and it's like just like shooting, robbing, you know, carjacking, horrible things that one right after another. Well then, like when my daughter was alive and she got airlifted to Cincinnati, I was watching their local news and it was like for like the first 5 minutes it was like bad stuff, and then for the rest of the broadcast, which was like a 30-minute broadcast, so for like the next 25 minutes, it's like what was good going on in Cincinnati, and I was like, places do that? You know, because I've spent my whole life in this area and it's always been the same thing. So I can understand that. The next example, politician wishing to get elected who gives speeches about how the area is full of crime and violence, which only he can do something about. Yes, crime and violence exist in the area, but he makes it seem worse than it is to get people to vote for him. Again, yes, I understand that. I've seen it. I completely agree with that. And most people would. Again, you lumped police officers and undertakers into this group, though. I'm dumbfounded. One, undertaker's gonna get his money whether it's violent or not. I mean, if you die, you die, and the undertaker's still gonna get his money. Police officers are needed whether there's a lot of crime or if there's a little of crime. I mean, it's just the amount of officers that you need. So, anyway, I'm gonna get off of that subject before my blood pressure gets up too high. So then, the second section is called Merchants of Chaos. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it's just like, and this is also the very kind of childish part of this. Like, I can remember when I was like younger, I want to say like 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade-ish, like when you're trying to build your vocabulary, you know, you're reading something and it'll have like the word and then it'll say like the little definition beside it in your reading. A merchant is someone who buys and sells goods for profit. Chaos is where everything is in confusion or disorder. So a merchant of chaos is someone who spreads bad news to make the environment seem far more dangerous than it is for his own advantage. What am I like? Am I like 8 years old again? Like, moving on. So it goes through, and this is mainly focusing on like newspaper salesmen, which really and truly not many people are buying newspapers. A lot of newspapers are tanking, especially if they're not going online. And so, but it just talks about how, okay, the Merchant of Chaos has a lot of troops, a lot of people who depend for their incomes in dangerous environments. Even doctors are not paid for the number of people in society they make well. What? That doesn't make any sense. It's also talking about politicians. And then it says a calming influence. This is another like little subtitle under this Merchants of Chaos. Anything that brings a calmed environment is resisted by those who want a disturbed environment. As Scientology progresses in an area, the environment becomes calmer and calmer. Really? Because I do believe that y'all have several orgs in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles has a very, very high crime rate. It's extraordinarily high. I mean, I think I just watched like 4 police chases that happened in Los Angeles in the past week. You also have pretty high presence in New York. New York has a very high crime rate. You have an org in Chicago. Chicago has an extraordinarily high crime rate. I mean, one of the highest in the country. But you're a calming force where you're located at. I also know by chance that you have a org in St. Louis. St. Louis also has a very high crime rate. I also know that you have an org in Nashville. Nashville also has a pretty elevated crime rate. So where's your calming influence? Just saying. Just pushing that out there. It's just a little. That's just a little information out there. You can take it how you want it. Just saying. The threat in the environment reduces. Hasn't reduced in Los Angeles or New York or Chicago or St. Louis or Nashville. So somebody who knows more about himself, others in life, and who gets a better grip on things has less trouble in his environment. I can see that. But it says, so there are 3 important points to note in finding solutions for a dangerous environment. 1, the environment seems dangerous to the person. You'll get an agreement from him on this, and he is undertaking certain methods to hold the environment down and keep it from biting him. I live in a fairly dangerous environment, and it's never bit me. I'm just saying. 2, Merchants of Chaos make the environment seem more dangerous in certain areas than it actually is. I can agree with that. I really and truly can agree with that. And I think that's the problem with Scientology as a whole, is they say just enough where you're like, I can agree with that point. And they're like, well, if you agree with that point, then you also have to agree with this point because it couples with this. And then they kind of twist it and turn it, and you're like, oh, maybe. And I really, truly believe that. So here's the 3rd point. A person's health, activity, and his desire to do well in life depend on his idea of how dangerous the environment is. If he finds his environment too dangerous, he will withdraw from the threat of the environment. He is likely to be more healthy and active and successful if he feels he can deal adequately with his environment. I can also agree with that. Most people, if they feel like things outside are too dangerous and they withdraw, they become shut-ins or anything like that, their health does decline. And I can agree with that, but I'm also agreeing with that from a person that does have mental health background. Just putting that out there. People that do not have any sort of social interaction, your health does decline, both mentally and physically, because social interaction does help with your physical health. So, that is also a point I can agree with Scientology with. There aren't many. So the third part of this is ways to lessen the threat. And they go through giving me freaking definitions again. But it says one is do not read the newspaper for 2 weeks. And then if you go back and you read the paper and it makes you scared, then leave the paper alone. Well, no, you just don't want people to read the newspaper because they may find something in Scientology. The thing of it is people have to learn to be critical of the things that they read and that they hear. You cannot always 100% believe everything that you hear and see. Just because it's in writing does not mean that it's absolutely true. Journalists have liberties with what they write because it's a person writing it. They have liberties with what they put on the news because it's a journalist writing it and then a journalist reporting it. So you have to have a critical eye and a critical ear on the things that you see on TV or read in a newspaper. And if you don't have enough brain to understand that, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be reading the newspaper or watching the news. 2, look around the environment and find something that isn't being a threat. Well, I mean, a tree could not be threatening. The grass could not be threatening. I mean, that's childish. That's a childish level thing to do. 3, take a walk. Another way of having a person look at the environment and discover that it isn't so threatening is a technique called take the walk. If a person feels bad, have them take a walk and look at things as he walks. He should really look at them. Again, this is another very childish thing. Not everything in your environment is always going to be threatening, okay? That's the thing. Like I said before, I live in a high crime city. I'm not living in fear every day of my life, and I won't live in fear every day of my life. I will go outside, I will take a walk around my neighborhood, I will go to the store, I will do my errands. I don't care because I know how to open my eyes and look around, and if I see something that looks suspicious or looks off, I will just leave the area. And that's the thing. If you are one of these people that are living in fear all the time, these techniques are not going to help you any. You need therapy. Find something that isn't hostile to you. Like I said, a tree can't be hostile. The grass can't be hostile. It's very childish. I mean, people that are in this level could see a teenager with headphones on and their hoodie up and think they're fixing to be robbed. I mean, it's childish. Handling a loss. Someone who has just lost his girlfriend or a woman who has lost her man feels horrible sadness. So it goes on into talking about loss and how to differentiate and identify the parts of loss and going through loss. Again, if you're having problems dealing with a loss, you need to go to therapy. arranging one's life by having someone plan a life by which he could live calmly and unthreatened, the life he is living becomes less threatening. I'm sorry, I'm not going to plan every single aspect of my life. I'm not going to be like, okay, I'm going to wake up at this time, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to leave the house at this time, I'm going to go to this store and do this and this. No. If I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get in my truck and I'm going to go to the store. If I decide to sleep in, I decide to sleep in. If I decide at 2 o'clock in the morning after I've gotten off work, I'm going to do my laundry. I'm going to do my laundry. I'm not going to plan out every aspect of my life because I'm continuously living in fear. And if people are doing this to try to cope with their fear, they don't need to do this. They need to get serious mental health care. This is not going to help them. This is not going to help them cope with their dangerous environment because they're having problems with their brain. This is not going to help them. Knocking off things that cause upset. This is to have the person stop doing things that upset him or stop talking to people who upset him. That sounds like the leading up to a disconnection there, Scientology. Okay, so being able to confront. And here we go again with the stupid ass definitions. Confront means to easily face someone or something without avoiding him or it. No shit. But again, it goes into this like long ass thing where it's giving you this like play out thing where Mrs. O'Leary's husband drinks a lot and her house is in disarray. And the social worker tells her, well, maybe if you clean up the house, maybe your husband wouldn't drink so much. No, maybe if her husband wasn't such a fucking lush, maybe they'd have better shit. You cannot say that one thing is the cause for the other thing. He's a drunk, and you're talking about they have broken furniture in the house, and she's a social worker, they have kids, so obviously there's some other aspects going on in that house that are not being discussed in that scenario, so there's probably some violence towards her, the children, and social services are involved. So obviously, him being a drunk and there's broken things in the house, who gives a damn if the ashtray's over full? I mean, you need to be more concerned about the safety of those kids and the safety of that woman than the ashtray being too full. It's very, like, they're like, oh, well, you know, take control of the one thing that you have control over. Empty out the ashtray, or maybe clean up your house a little bit, and maybe your husband wouldn't drink. What are we, the fucking Stepford wives in this situation? No. You already have social services involved through your own little scenario that y'all worked up. So obviously there's some abuse going on. And on top of that, it says in your own little scenario that there are broken items of furniture around the house and that the house is in disarray. So obviously he has some anger issues when he's drinking. So why do we care about an overfull ashtray? I don't give a shit about the fucking ashtray. I'm more concerned about her and the kids than the ashtray, and this woman's made up. Anyway, but it says, if you make it your business, rapidly get an estimation of what a person thinks is wrong, find out which one of these points he can confront, find out what he is going to do about that point that he thinks he can do, then get him to do it, and at that point become terribly insistent on the subject of getting that point done. You will have a agreement every time. Well, people can say, oh, hey, here's a list of XYZ that I need to fix. I mean, that's what people say on New Year's resolutions, and they say, oh, I'm going to do this by March, or I'm going to have this done by whatever. Doesn't mean that people are going to do it. It just doesn't. So, yeah, whatever. Okay, so the next section is called the real world. And it says the world simply must not be a better place according to the chaos merchant. If people were less beaten down by their environments, there would be no new funds for police, armies, and weapons. Again, why do you keep throwing the police in here? It's not like the police are going out there and breaking into people's homes or murdering people or raping people or, holding up businesses. It's not the police that are doing that. There's other people that are doing that. And then the police are going and trying to stop these things or catch the people that are doing them. So stop throwing the police in there. Now, with the armies thing, yeah, I could kind of see that point because, especially with us here in the United States, kind of going around and trying to make everybody, be a democracy and be like us, we've kind of started sticking our noses into some shit that's not our business, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. But the police are not going out there committing crimes. Criminals are out there committing crimes, and the police are trying to clean it up. So, again, I don't agree with that point. And then it goes into, as long as politicians, weapons merchants, and the media profit from crime, war, and bad news, there will continue to be those who spread confusion and upset. And it goes on. Then it goes into practical exercises. Now, in between each one of these sections, you read the little section and then it'll have like 1 to 4 questions that you're supposed to answer in between there. And then it's simple stuff, like you can just skim through here and be able to get the questions right. So it's not like huge, like, oh my god, I gotta pay attention stuff. It's like no-brainer type stuff. But then at the end, they have these practical applications or practical exercises. And it's pretty much observe your environment. Find an example of your environment having been made to look more dangerous than it really is. So it's just going back over the same stuff that was in the other things. Take a walk. Ways to lessen a threat. Help someone confront. And then you click, like when you get done with everything, like you go through all the little sections, it emails you a little certificate. You completed this. And then it tries to get you to start another course. So that is pretty much the entire course on dangerous environment. So really and truly, did I learn anything from the dangerous environment course? No. I mean, it's really and truly like what I already knew. What I already knew by seeing life and living life. There's nothing else out there, and a lot of the stuff that they were saying to like confront your dangerous environment are things that really didn't make any sense. And for people that really have problems like agoraphobia or things like that, where they're severely afraid to leave their homes, these things are not going to help them. They need a psychiatrist or a psychologist to work with them. So, and I know Scientology is not going to agree that their technology is not going to work. So, I'm just gonna not go there with that. I started reading the Cause of Suppression course, or the Causes of Suppression. I don't really know the name of it. Last night, and I started kind of giggling. So that might be another interesting video here soon when I finish that class. I kind of read these like sporadically, so it's not like I'm going to be able to tell you, yeah, I'll be done with it by the end of the week, because it's not going to happen. I read these sporadically, like in between stuff, like after watching TV, or when I get tired watching YouTube, or after I've edited videos or something, and I'll read for like 45 minutes or so at the end of everything, if I'm just not falling asleep dead after work. So I might do it like once or twice a week. I'm not killing myself to try to get these done. It's not like I'm serious about it. So anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you think about this little online course experiment that I'm doing. Let me know what you thought about this groundbreaking technology from Scientology on the dangerous environment. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and ring that bell. I don't post Scientology videos on the regular, so those kind of just pop up here and now. So you might want to just check out from here every once in a while, see if I've posted a new one. All of my Scientology videos are in a playlist of their own on my channel, so that, you know, they're all contained. So if you want to check those out, they're in a playlist labeled Scientology on my channel. And if you want to, you can leave a comment down below in the comment section, or you can look in the description box for my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Brain's not working anymore because I've just talked about really mind-numbing stuff. Anyway, guys, that's going to be all for this video. I will see you guys on the next one. I am doing some reading into some things, so I might pop up with another video here shortly. I'm reading a couple of other things that might turn into another video, but I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.